Are you do you want to rehash anything?
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. Happy to be back again with Shaun O'Hara. Apparently, they made a trade. They traded back, and then they you know what? They kind of liked when Schmeelk was there, so they went back to Schmeelk.
Yeah, apparently the trade deadline doesn't exist for BBK.
No, it does not.
No. We have gone past those parameters. But yeah, this is always a treat, Johnny. Sean John. That's what we're called.
Well, and I'm very happy I got you in a week where there's not a whole lot going on. There's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, boy, we're gonna really scrape in the bottom of the barrel on this one.
Yeah, we're reaching. I think Packers special teams will be a big focus of today's conversation.
Oh my goodness.
No, so folks, Mike Kafka. The reason we started a little bit late, we appreciate your patience. Mike Kafka had his introductory press conference. I went out there. It's on the back, patio in the cold. Sean decided to cower in the studio and not partake.
I was not braving the elements. I'm half the man I used to be.
Not only did I expect you to brave the elements, I wanted you to come out sleeveless like you used to do back in the day.
Yeah,
offensive linemen don't wear sleeves.
They paid me a lot more back then, and I was a lot dumber back then. I'm much wiser now. And I'll be honest
Sliding
with you.
scale.
My hands still don't work in the cold, and I blame the NFC Championship game for that. Like literally, if I'm
It worked that day. I don't think you guys had a fumbled snap.
They worked that day. That's fine. But I swear I have frostbite in both my hands because if I'm outside for 15 minutes, even when I'm coaching my son's football team, I'm the biggest wuss. I've got gloves. I've got hand warmers because my hands get cold like that immediately.
So you blame Green Bay for that?
Yeah, it was worth it.
Well, apropos, the Giants are playing the Green Bay Packers this week.
And
we will get to that matchup in just a second, folks. But first of all, the news from the press conference. Jameis Winston, we knew this morning based on reports that he was going to be the backup. Paul and I both kind of said we wanted that to happen on Monday. We weren't sure if it was going to, but it did. And
Jameis is going to be the starter.
Jameis will be the starter this week because Jackson Dart is still in concussion protocol, and I guess they know from where he is in that protocol. Because, again, in order to get out of protocol in a week, you really have to hit every mark relatively quickly. So he must not be there yet. Or maybe they're just taking it easy with him and they want to make sure they give him an extra week. Whatever the case might be, Jameis will start at quarterback this week. Sean, let's start there. The other piece of news I should give as well is that Mike Kafka will call plays, and Tim Kelly has been named offensive coordinator. He does have past offensive coordinator experience. He's the Giants' current tight ends coach. So that's where we are, Sean. Why don't we start there? Your thoughts on the two pieces of news we got from Mike Kafka's presser.
Yeah, so let's start with Jameis. I think Jameis has earned this opportunity. And I know everybody's like, oh, well, hey, they're going to name a starter. Like, I feel like this is something that Jameis has earned throughout since he's been here, day one. Like, everybody has raved about Jameis Winston, not just the player, but what he brings to the huddle, what he brings to the team. Players really gravitate towards him. He's an energy giver. And I think that, it's an opportunity for him to get a chance to play. And, I mean, look, he's still a competitor. I think he played well in the preseason when he did get some reps. So I think he's earned this.
Just don't throw it to the guy with yellow helmets, and he'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's always, that's always kind of been the concern with Jameis is he's going to throw a lot of touchdowns, throw for a lot of yards, but he also may throw a couple of picks. And that's been one of the good things about Jackson Dart. He's taking care of the football as a rookie.
Except for that fumble last week, which caused all the issues.
It's really been, he's had a couple of fumbles. The Saints game, that the ball slips out of his hands.
He only has 3 picks and 2 fumbles in his starts, which for a rookie is pretty good.
That's remarkable. And I think that was, that's paramount as a quarterback. Take care of the football. So for Jameis, that's number one. I think, the challenge is, for Russell, I'm sure he's disappointed, but look, he had a chance. He had a chance to start the season, and then, he came in when Jackson Dart went down, and, things didn't go that well for him when he went back in the game. So I think this is a great opportunity for Jameis. Plus, Jameis is under contract for next year, so it makes sense.
Yep.
And he's already said that he wants to be here. So I think this is a good opportunity for Jameis.
And I'll just say this very briefly on Russ. He's handled this very well, apparently. He's been a real pro, which is not a surprise if you know Russ that's the case. To me, we knew when Russ faced pressure, especially up the middle, that he was going to have issues. I think what changed for me, watching him once the season started, remember, This is why preseason and practice is different than in-game situations,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Not only did he struggle, he was under pressure, which he did. Again, that was not a surprise. We thought that was going to happen. I thought especially the last 2 times he was out there, I know there were short periods, but the last 2 times he played, I felt like he was feeling pressure even when the pocket was good. And he just
It affected his vision.
Correct. And I knew when pressure was there, that would happen. But even when they had a couple steady pockets versus blitzes in the last game, it was as though there was pressure. And if that's happening, it's hard for an offense to function.
Yeah, and I think that's been something that kind of has plagued Russell his whole career, was kind of hero ball, kind of getting out of the pocket a little bit early. And we saw that, again, kind of some premature pressure, and all of a sudden now he's running out of the pocket when he doesn't need to.
Some happy feet, yeah.
And, when you're quarterback and your eyes are going to the pass rush, you're cooked. Like, you're done, because you can never get them on the rush and then back out to your receivers. You just don't see the field. So you've got to be able to feel the rush around you and keep your eyes down the field. And that's been something that, it's plagued Russell, I think, throughout his career, and it certainly looked magnified the last couple of times we saw him. So this is, I think, exciting time for Jameis. I think the one thing that is going to be different is, look, we've been feeling good about the offensive line play, this season. I mean, I think the Washington game, things did not go well. But since Andrew Thomas has come back and been in a left tackle.
Dallas game was good, too, in fairness. The game against Dallas in week 2. Offensive line did a nice job.
Well, except for Hudson.
Well, he had the penalties,
that was
yes.
Yeah, that was a complete meltdown.
Overall, the protection was okay, is my point.
Right. So I think this is now going to become a challenge, because Jackson Dart, made a lot of loose plays with his feet. A lot of time stepping up, kind of avoiding some pressure, moving to the right, and kind of getting out of those pressure situations and making a play. Jameis doesn't have that same mobility skills. He can still navigate the pocket. He's not as much of a running threat or a scrambling threat as Jackson Dart. So I think that's something that you've got to be aware of, and you've got to find a way to protect him from that standpoint and help him out, in that he's more of a pocket passer than even Jackson Dart.
And then let's get to Tim Kelly. He'll be the offensive coordinator. Pardon me. He was OC for the Texans in 2019 and 2020. I believe that was under Bill O'Brien.
Was that Vrabel? No, Bill O'Brien.
That was Bill O'Brien in the Texans, I think, in 19 and 20, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that, but I think it was. And then he was the passing game coordinator for the Titans in 2022 and their offensive coordinator in 2023. So he does have a lot of experience. He's not going to call the plays, but he'll help put the game plans together. And what makes me happy, Sean, this probably means you're going to keep seeing a lot of tight ends, because he was the tight ends coach. So my guess is that you're going to see a heavy tight end offense moving forward, which makes me happy too.
Well, I think that's a big part of who you're playing as well. Look, Micah Parsons is playing for the Packers. We know Micah Parsons all too well. So you better have tight ends in there to help Chip and to help slow him down.
And Rashawn Gary, by the way, is not bad on the other side either.
No, and
really
Rashawn Gary has benefited a lot from all the attention that Micah Parsons is getting. Now Rashawn Gary is kind of getting a lot more one-on-ones than he's probably used to. So they've got some good bookend rushers on both sides. I think for Tim Kelly, the challenge for him is going to be, you can't throw the ball 50 times in this game. So you've got to commit to the run. You've got to stay with it. Even if you're struggling with it early on, you've got to be persistent with it, because a lot of those big runs, as we saw even last week against the Bears, the Giants didn't run the ball very well in the first half. And then the second half, things started to open up. You kind of have to tenderize the meat a little bit. You got to pound it a little bit early on to get those big runs later on.
Beginning of the second half, I thought they ran downhill a little bit more. I felt there was a little bit more side-to-side stuff in the first half. Then third quarter, more downhill. And then they got back to the zone stuff in the fourth quarter, which I thought worked well in the fourth.
Yeah, and look, when Russell came in, they obviously went more tight ends package. But those runs, the downhill runs you talk about, they brought the two tight ends. They weren't on the ball. They were kind of off the ball a little bit. But that's when they started to really run the ball with success, when they had the two tight ends in there, and then they built a lot of play action stuff off of that. So that will be the challenge. I think, the other challenge that comes to mind when I think about a new offensive coordinator is, look, just making sure you get the play call in fast enough. You got to have your next play like ready to rock and roll. If it's 3rd and 2 or 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 7, all right. If it's third down, if this is incomplete, I got to have a third down play ready to rock. Or, hey, you know what? I got to make sure I have the next play already in mind, so that you're not having delay of games. And, that communication between him and Jameis, getting the play in, making sure that that's all smooth.
And that's something
no operation stuff.
Kafka did say that was a priority for him, making sure that the plays are decisive is the word that he used, and they get in quickly, and they make sure that they get turned around. So
Yeah, and I think that's something that they're obviously working this whole week. It's I guarantee you, in practice today, tomorrow, and Friday, Kelly's going to be using the walkie-talkie, talking into the ear, making sure that he's got that down pat.
Well, here's my
making sure
question.
Jameis has all that.
Do you think he's talking into the headset, or do you think it's going to be Kafka? Kafka said he's still calling plays, even though Tim Kelly was the OC. So do you think Kafka's calling
so
the plays?
Kafka's still calling the plays?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kafka will call plays, but
Gotcha.
Tim Kelly will be the OC.
Okay.
So I think Kafka's still be the one calling it in, you figure,
Yeah,
right?
so it sounds like Kafka will still be calling the plays on the field, which is going to be tough because you're the head coach as well.
It's a big challenge.
So that is
First time
something
you're head
new.
coaching, and now you got to do plays too. It's hard.
Yeah, and then also, look, when the defense is out on the field, he's been used to going over and sitting with the quarterbacks and talking with them. And all right, hey, here I'm going to start working on the next drive. Next time we get the ball, here's where we're going to go.
That's where I think
You
Tim
gotta
Kelly
focus the defense.
plays a big role now. Because
Right.
he's going
So
to be
on
the
game
guy
day-
doing that with Shea Tierney to get the quarterback.
Did he
going.
say is he going to be on the field with him or is he up in the booth?
You know what?
Tim
They
Kelly.
did not ask that. They did not ask.
Because if he's up in the
do that
booth
question.
now, he's just talking to him, but he can help from up in the booth.
My
but
guess
if he's down
is
on the
that
field,
he'll
then he
be-
can meet with Jameis.
My guess is that he'll be on the field. He was on the field as the tight ends coach, and my
Okay.
guess is that
Yeah, 'cause
given
Kafka's been on the
that
field.
Kafka's been on the field, that he will be too. But I don't know. Maybe Kafka wants him upstairs. Maybe that's where he wants his OC. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk to Tim Kelly tomorrow, so we'll ask him that question
Okay.
and we'll find out.
All right, good. What else? Anything else you gleaned from
No,
Kafka?
nothing really. Just that he's excited for the opportunity. Good conversation with ownership. He decided to keep private. We wanted to thank them for the opportunity. Wanted to thank Brian Daboll for the relationship and the opportunity that he had here from him. Just that he has confidence in the team. His big priority the last couple days and next couple days will be the players, to make sure they handle this change well and make sure, because everyone handles this type of thing differently.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone's ready to go, and that was kind of the main thrust of his conversation today.
the personal element to this? Kafka has been with Daboll since day one here with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can understand the mixed emotions of, wow, okay, you find out Coach Daboll's fired. Now I'm excited about this opportunity, but I'm also like, it's tough. You gotta put your big boy pants on and pull up your boots and you gotta kind of grin and bear it.
There's still a game in 6 days.
Yeah, the Packers don't care.
Nope.
Like they're coming.
They do not.
They need a win. They just gifted one away to the Eagles.
Well, that
which
was
I feel like everybody's been doing all year long.
That
Why do
was
we keep
not-
gifting things
I
to the
know.
birds?
That was not
Like,
a
stop.
very well played game on Monday night.
No, it was awful. It was awful.
All right. I want to talk about that too with
Yeah.
you, but first, I want to get your take on the whole decision to move on from Brian Daboll. We've talked about it. It actually broke while we were live on the air on Monday, so
Yeah.
that was a fun show. I had Howard on yesterday talking about it. I've kind of given my take, which I'll give it to you briefly, Sean. Is that look? I still think Brian Daboll's a good coach. I don't think he lost the locker room. I think they were all still playing hard for him. I think it wasn't even, some people have been, he handled Dart wrong. He's running him too much to get him hurt. I don't think that's it either. I think it came down to the fact that the team just lost way too many games the last 2.5 years. And the way they lost games this year, after having double-digit leads in 3 games in the fourth quarter on the road, in games you could have won, in the end, if they win those 3 games, they
Or
win
even
2
two
of
of
those
them,
games. Brian Daboll's still the head coach.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and that's why we are where we are.
Yeah. I hate anytime coaches get fired because I know what they are putting into it, the sacrifice they're making. They don't see their families during the season. Like there's a lot that goes into being a head coach, and so it always just it's a gut punch anytime you see somebody get fired like that. And I love Daboll. Like I was here when they interviewed him. I knew Daboll before we hired him. He had been with the Patriots for a while. He'd been in the league a long time. So I knew Daboll, and I liked him before he got here. And after getting to know him and just kind of working with him and spending time with him, I love Daboll. And I think a lot of people in this building feel the same way. So it's always tough when there's a guy that everybody likes and everybody respects. And I think he's a damn good coach. And this did not work out for a myriad of reasons. And this was not because Coach Daboll's not a good coach. And it wasn't because he went for it on 4th down too many times or not enough. This was the most unbelievable string of bad breaks that I've seen. It was like Roy Munson.
Now, some were self-inflicted bad breaks, in fairness.
There were some, definitely. But Malik Neighbors going down, Cam Skadby going down.
Oh, that's true.
Last year, Graham Gano going down on an opening kickoff. Andrew Thomas going down on a field goal block. Like the stuff that just kind of snowballed. And this season, look, last year they won 3 games last year. So last year was tough. I mean, last year towards the end of the year, there was a lot of people that thought that he was going to get fired last year. So, I give credit to the Giants for saying, you know what, we think that he's a good coach. I think the one big thing that you pointed out too was this locker room has never been fractured under Daboll. Like there's never been a question about he's lost the team or, these guys are blaming each other or, they're not listening to him. That has not been an issue whatsoever. Nobody's even brought that up. So I think that's, that says a lot about Daboll and what the players think of him as a coach. But
and even as non-players, Sean, I know we could speak to this. Just the environment that he had in the building, it's probably the best it's been since I've been here.
Yeah.
Just camaraderie, everyone friendly with each other. We're all into this together as a team. He really did bring everyone together in the building to try to get this thing done. So
yeah, and
I just wanted to put that out.
He's well respected, and look, this preseason, I mean, this was one of the best training camps that we've seen here collectively in a long time. I mean, there was so much positivity, and I think the locker room, I think they're going to go out and play hard for him because they feel like they let him down.
Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned it. Look, these couple of these games, like we could easily have 5 wins right now.
And you can get a little bounce sometimes when you go to the interim coach for that first game. It happens.
It happens a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's a stat out there about you never want to play a team that week after they fire a head coach because like they're coming. Like you're getting a different version of. But
didn't that happen to the Giants? Didn't they get the Raiders the game after that they hired Antonio Pierce as the interim, and the Raiders came in here and beat the snot out of us?
Yeah,
yes.
I feel like when Jeff Saturday took over for the Colts too. Same thing
correct,
happened.
absolutely.
Like, they won that. That was win that first game. So that's a good thing for the Giants fans, unless those of you are over there saying tank for another pick. But
as you and Jeff Saturday have gotten older, by the way, you don't look as much alike as you used to. You guys used to be like almost.
We were twins.
Yes, but you're not really
doubt.
anymore. As you guys have gotten older, you've kind of deviated a little bit. Just for the record.
Yeah,
anyway.
there's a little bit of a line of demarcation now. The thing that's crazy is, like the Giants. I mean, they clobbered the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, defending Super Bowl champs, and now we're watching the Eagles. Look, they're one of the top teams in the NFC. They're squeaking out wins left and right.
Yeah, they'd be the number 1 seed if the playoffs started today.
We had the Denver Broncos, like they were down on the mat, and then they rose up like the Undertaker. They're the number 1 team in the AFC right now.
I know.
Like
it's
you look at some of the best teams in the league right now. Like we had them up against the ropes. Should have beat Dallas in week 2. That was a debacle, but. Like so, you look at this team. You're like, okay, there's talent on this team, and the fact that the
Chargers
could
are
have won those games.
7-3. We beat them too.
We beat the Chargers. Look, and Denver's 8-2. Like, and Philly's 7-2. Like when you think about it, it's like how it's hard to wrap your head around. How can we be that good against those teams in those situations, and then just within 4 minutes to go in the game, all hell breaks loose.
The Giants right now, Sean, their strength of victory, so that's the winning percentage of the teams that they've beaten, is 737, which means the average record, they've won 74% of their games. The next highest, and I didn't even look at this, I'm trying to do it fast right now. The next highest in the National Football League is not over 55, which is amazing when you think about that. The next highest is 511. Which I believe is the Pittsburgh Steelers as I go through. Eagles. They're 516. That's the next highest number in terms of quality of victories this year in the National Football League. Now, granted, there's only 2 of them, but still.
I've never seen a team that can just flip the script in such a short amount of time. Like they held the Bears to 10 points. The Bears had put up 80 points in the previous 2 games combined.
Yeah, and then the fourth quarter shut up.
And then you go into the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden it's like. The 5 minutes to go in the game, like just all hell breaks loose.
And I said this with Howard yesterday. The frustrating thing for me is that, Sean, this last 2 years, there have been a lot of games that were non-competitive, and you walked into the building and you knew they were not going to win, and they did not have a chance to win unless weird things happened. You never got that sense this year. They were in most of these games. The Eagles, the second Eagles game, and the Niners game were 2 games that they weren't really in. It was 3-score games in the fourth quarter. But you just couldn't get over the top in the close ones. And look, heading into this year, Sean, I said to Paul, there are 2 things this team needs to do with their tough schedule to win games. They need to win close games. Nope, haven't done that. Yeah. And they need to win the turnover battle most weeks. They're like -5.
Yeah.
So and by the way, that's because you're not getting takeaways.
Right.
It's not because you're not protecting the ball. It's because you're not getting takeaways.
Look, they went and played the Bears last week. The Bears led the league in takeaways, right? And they had 1 fumble on that one play that Dark got hurt on. He took care of the football. They didn't fumble. So, yeah, I mean that's
frustrating.
It is frustrating. And just to put a ribbon or tie a bow on the Daboll thing, I think he handled himself with class all the way throughout this whole thing. I don't know what the conversations were with him and ownership, but everybody was talking about, well, the defense. I give him credit because probably the easy thing would have been after the Denver game would have been to fire somebody, and that would have been his call. And I don't think anybody would have blamed him if he had taken somebody out. Would that have bought him another week or two? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think that was the way he was going to roll. And it was like, hey, look, if anybody's going to take a bullet, it's me. And I think Daboll he walked out of here with his chin up. I hope he feels that way. I think he represented the Giants well throughout his tenure, and everybody in this building still loves him. It's tough to see, and it's a tough business.
Yeah. By the way, we're going to go to 145 today, folks, since we started later. Kafka also said, as of right now, there's no other changes on the coaching staff. So that's where we are. That's where we're going to head. Real quick, Sean, before we get to the calls, I do want to say something about the Green Bay Packers, just because this will be the last time I'm on before the game.
Okay.
Their defense is awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good.
They fly.
Third down defense is great. They don't allow any passes over the top. They allow the fewest passes of 20-plus yards in the National Football League. They don't blitz a lot. When they do, they're extremely effective at it. They stop the run well. They have Micah Parsons with 6.5 sacks, Rashawn Gary with 7.5 sacks on the edge. They're just a really, really good football team. Their defense is tremendous. I'm really mad. I wanted to see how Jackson Dart did against this type of defense. Because, look, the Bears' defense is bad. The week before, the Niners' defense was really banged up. Eagles' defense is good. But this would have been, I think, probably the toughest test he might have faced all year against the Packers' defense. So disappointed we're not seeing that. Their defense is awesome. Their offense, though, seems a little lost, Sean. I got to be honest with you. Like, Matt LaFleur, he's not... They kind of move the ball, but they don't get a lot of explosive plays. They've lost Tucker Kraft. Matthew Golden, their first-round wide receiver, has been out. Romeo Doubs got hurt last week.
Eldon Jenkins,
their starting center, he's going to be out.
Yeah.
So they run the ball well with Josh Jacobs. They seem to consistently get 4 or 5 yards on every play, but they're missing explosives, and they're just not consistent to me throwing the ball down the field. They throw a lot of balls at the line of scrimmage, a lot of screens and stuff like that. Jordan Love's been out of sorts. He hasn't played that well the last 2 weeks. His overall numbers are very good. So I think this is an opportunity for this to be a low-scoring type of game. If the Giants' offense don't turn the ball over, because that's what the Packers are going to try to do to you because they're that good. So Jameis, take care of the ball. I don't know how many points you're going to score, but this Packer offense has struggled. So I think this Giant defense should have a chance here to slow this Packer offense down. Right now, the Packers, Sean, they've given up an average of 13 points a game in their 3 losses this year. It's like the lowest number since the 2000 Ravens.
Yeah.
So it's been their offense that hasn't held up their side of the bargain.
No, they scored 20 points in the last 2 weeks combined offensively. So, I mean, if you hold – look, they held the Carolina Panthers to 16 points. They held the Eagles to 10 points. You should win those games. Mm-hmm. So, to your point, it's been very odd to watch this offense because – I think that's one of the things that Matt LaFleur has always done a great job of. He's always had a really good functional offense. They've always been very efficient. Kind of remind you of the 49ers. He's of that same tree, Kyle Shanahan. A lot of outside zone, play action stuff, a lot of quick throws, easy completions, try to get yards after catch.
Play action to try to get chunk plays down the field off the play action.
A
lot of crossers.
A lot of crossing routes, a lot of zone attacking concepts, move the pocket. Plays. Josh Jacobs, I think, he's the bell cow, and that's the key right now. Like for the Giants, they've struggled to stop the run. Yep. Look, if you're Matt LaFleur, you're going to try to pound the rock. Plus, as we mentioned, they've had a ton of injuries. Eldon Jenkins just went down. Sean Ryan filled in for him at center, but this offensive line has struggled. Rasheed Walker, their left tackle, he's given up 3 sacks this season. They give him a ton of help. So that to me is the matchup to watch. Brian Burns versus their left tackle, Rasheed Walker. They chip a ton with their tight ends. They give him a ton of help. Aaron Banks is their left guard. I mentioned Sean Ryan's filling in at center. Jordan Morgan at right guard. He's struggled a little bit.
Second-year first-round pick, but he's had issues.
Yeah, he's struggled with change direction. He's had a couple sacks, a couple penalties. Zach Tom, as their right tackle, he's not given up a sack this season.
He's a good player.
He's been their solid player. He's been their best offensive lineman. I'll be curious to see, how much they just commit to the run early on. Romeo Doubs is their go-to guy. He's been their leading receiver. Jordan Love, look, the last time we saw him here in MetLife, wasn't that the Monday Night Football game? Tommy DeVito took them down, and they went on to make the playoffs that year.
Which, by the way, Jordan Love was smoking hot heading into that game.
Yeah,
he was playing
picks.
Great football, and he was terrible in that game against the Giants.
Yeah, so maybe he doesn't play. We're okay with him not playing well in MetLife. Maybe it's the wind. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
and the weather's supposed to be a little bit rough on Sunday. By the way,
I think to your point,
rainy.
I think this Giants defense. This is a great get right game for them.
You hit it though. Stop the
Great
run,
opportunity.
man.
Yeah, they got to stop the run.
Got to stop the run. Got to stop the run. Got to stop the run. We're in the Hackensack Murray Hill podcast. You'll keep getting better. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Schmeelk O'Hara till 45 with you right here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Johnny Mack on the controls. We have some YouTube comments as well we'll get to, Johnny Mack. Good job getting those in the document for us. Some good questions from our listeners and viewers. Let's go to Julian in Florida. He will lead us off today. Julian, what's going on?
Schmeelk O'Hara, how you guys doing today?
What's up,
Happy
buddy?
Wednesday.
Doing it.
So just some thoughts here. A lot of feelings. A lot of feelings this season. A lot of ups and downs. It's a hell of a roller coaster ride. Just having rookies start doing well, and then we're winning some games. Thursday night football beating the Eagles, and then all of a sudden, fast forward a couple weeks later, our head coach getting fired. But it's just you're watching ESPN, you're watching all this stuff, and I just as a lifelong Giants fan, I got some opinions here. I appreciate you, John, asking what Shaun O'Hara felt, and I appreciate your opinion too on Daboll, because that was going to be my main question to you, Shaun. Is as an ex-player, like if you can kind of describe what it is to feel like to be in the locker room and you're losing all the time, but you love your head coach. But I will say this:
Shaun didn't lose a lot when he was a pro, Julian. So I'm not sure. Well, I guess he did with the Browns, but not when you were here.
Yeah.
Say that again. I'm sorry. What?
No, I said, Julian, Shaun didn't lose a lot when he was here with the Giants. He did with the Browns.
Yeah,
though, so
I
he
know,
might have
that's
some.
true, right?
He might have some
Shaun,
insight from what
yeah.
he's had in Cleveland.
Sean's got hardware to prove that. That's for damn sure. But you kind of answered that already, Shaun. And I will say this about Daboll. We went from Tom Coughlin to McAdoo to Pat Shurmur to Joe Judge, and here we are. Here's the thing I'll say about Daboll. He was given 3.5 seasons. Okay. The other guys, they had 2 seasons, maybe even less, and just a lot more reasons to fire them. We were all a little frustrated there. Daboll had enough time. I think John Mara had expressed that he wants to see this thing play out. He was a coach of the year, and he did great that first year. We were all been chasing that high ever since from 2022. But it's just the results are the results, right? And
Sure.
It's very frustrating to know that there was 4 games we were supposed to win this year. I mean, literally, you go to the bathroom for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, go upstairs, get a beer, come back down to see the TV, and we're losing. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? But I just want to say that he was given a fair shot. He was given 3.5 seasons, almost 4. So the results are the results, and that's what's going to happen when your results are that bad. And you know what? I'm sure Mara is just as frustrated as we are
of
seeing us lose all the time, all these seasons, all this hype up. I mean, we're already talking about the draft, and this happens all the time, every season for the past, I don't know how many seasons. It must be frustrating for you guys as radio guys. We're not even December yet, and we're already talking about draft picks, and we're talking about head coaches that could be a possibility. But I don't want to ramble on too much. I'm going to leave some things off the air for you guys. I know I'm sure you have a lot of callers.
No, thank you, Julian.
One thing I want to ask is there's a whole rumor going around about Jackson Dart's tooth being knocked out. I don't know if you guys have any insight on that, if that's true, if it's just rumors
Julian,
going on or whatnot.
stands. I'm best friends with Jackson Dart's dentist. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
You know what's funny?
Because there's a video going around of his tooth going on Twitter, but with AI these days, who knows? I mean, I live here in Miami, and I can assure you that the whole Mike McDaniel pulling up the elbow room thing was true, not AI.
Oh,
but,
did that really happen? That's funny.
Not sure.
Thank you, Julian. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, Julian,
thank you.
You know what's interesting is, so I did the post-game show, and I'm watching the game with Madeline, and I'm like,
did you have his tooth?
I'm like, did he get a tooth knocked out? I saw the same thing.
Oh, really?
The camera showed him when he got up, and it looked like there was a tooth missing. So, but then all of a sudden when they panned back to it, I don't know if it was maybe his mouthpiece, maybe there was a reflection or something, but there was one point in that situation after it was the play where he got his helmet knocked off, and the helmet was coming off, and then he kind of went to the ground and he got hit, and it looked like maybe he had his tooth knocked out. So I don't know.
What would have hit him in the mouth though to knock his tooth out?
The player's helmet. So
he got
hit.
He got into his face.
It was kind of like, you remember when Eli got hit?
Yeah,
in the
sure.
Jets game. So somebody hit him, and his helmet came up like that, and then the other guy hit him like that.
Oh, on that play.
Not the fumble.
Play.
Not the fumble.
Okay, I got you.
It was
that makes sense.
So while everybody says, "Oh, he got concussed on that fumble," if you were to tell me he got concussed, I would have thought it would on that play.
Well, by the way,
when he got drilled and the helmet fell off.
This stuff's also cumulative, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was like a little of that with a little of that. Who knows?
That set it up. I appreciate what Julian was saying about Daboll, and just to answer your question about that, it sucks. Like it sucks when everybody feels like they let Daboll down.
The players feel responsible for this.
Joe Shane feels like he let him down. Like he brought him here. They came here together to bring championships, and they failed, and that sucks. And it sucks when you see, when Shane has to come in there and see his friend and the head coach that he was in lockstep with just get dismissed and have to clean out his locker. Like for everybody, that's a tough day. It's tough for everybody to watch. So, players feel it, the coaches feel it. Everybody feels like they let Daboll down because he's a damn good coach. Look, he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. He's got a national championship ring from college. Like he's a good coach, and I think everybody kind of feels the same way. Like, man, you know what? We let him down. We didn't deliver on the wins. It's a production business. He gets it. He understands it. He's been around long enough. He knows. And to your point, like he got a fair shot at it. Like you can't say that he didn't get enough time.
Yeah, we've had people calling up asking about this all year, and Paul and I have never been like, you got to give him more time. You're in the 4th year. I mean, this is when things had to turn around if they were going to turn around. So, yeah, I mean, it stinks.
Yeah.
But
and now here we are.
It is what it is.
I like that he was thinking of us, too. Like we've been talking before the season starts. We're like, man, we just want meaningful games around Thanksgiving. Right? That's like, is that too much to ask
How about
for?
The season not being over
I get
by
it.
Halloween.
I get it if we don't make the playoffs. Okay.
That.
Yeah. Can we not be trick or treating, knowing that already talking about the draft picks? I mean, it's making us drink. Like that's really the issue.
And Shaun doesn't need a reason for that.
No,
he's Irish.
No, I only drink. I only drink on days that end in Y.
Don't be offended if people are out there. I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
We're talking about
to
coffee,
stereotype.
of
course. Exactly right. Yeah, look, I'm with you. I think Julian, everything you said was fair. All right, let's go to Alex in Syracuse. He's up next. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Hey, guys, how we doing?
We're good.
Hey, just real quick, I haven't had a chance, I don't think, to talk to you on air yet, Shaun. Lifelong Giants fan like Julian. Just wanted to thank you for all the very happy Sundays you provided my dad, myself, my whole family. Much appreciated. Also, met you one time many years ago at training camp. Signed a football for me. You couldn't have been kinder. Never forgot it. So thank you for all that.
I appreciate it, Alex. Appreciate all your support, man. Keep the faith. All right.
He's like a big teddy bear, Alex.
Hey. Well, that's actually kind of what I'm calling. I want to echo a lot of what you guys are saying. I want to talk about the defense in a second. I have an idea that I want to run by you. But real quick, I want to talk about. I've probably been one of the biggest. I mean, I was like the last Daniel Jones supporter, probably. I might be the last Brian Daboll supporter. It seems like I might be one of the last Joe Shane supporters at this point. Coming into this season, I had, I think, realistic expectations. I wanted some meaningful football in November. And honestly, my whole thing was I wanted to play well enough that this regime got to keep their jobs, because I remember the last 10 years, which it seems like a lot of fans don't. It's been a lot worse than this. Like you guys were just, there is football that was hard to watch. We aren't winning, and that stinks. But like this football is so much more exciting to watch. And so I really think we're moving in the right direction. And I really wanted to not blow this whole thing up. And so I'm sad to see Daboll go. I get it. I'm not saying it was the wrong call. I get it where we are. But I really hope that the whole thing doesn't implode, because I really don't want to go back to square one. It feels like we are slowly probably, but heading in the right direction. And so
yeah, I think that's fair. Point, I agree with that generally, Alex. I think you're right about that. Shaun, you agree with that?
To that point, there's a lot of people talking about Joe Shane right now, right? And I'm not going to get. I'll call back later with my full defense of Joe Shane. But there's one name that keeps getting brought up in sort of like the taking down of Joe Shane, and it actually leads me to a point about the defense, which is everybody wants to talk about Deonte Banks, right? He's one of the examples. Neil, Hyatt, Deonte Banks, all these misses, quote unquote, right? Now here's what I want to say about Deonte Banks. You got to remember, Deonte Banks came in when Martindale was still here. That was Martindale's guy when we were running a very different scheme. And I actually remember, I went back, John. There was an episode when you were doing draft coverage, back before that draft, where you spoke very highly about Deonte Banks, like everyone was at the time. But you said he's a really great press man corner, and he does seem to have some more trouble when he's playing more off ball and zone, and that's going to be the thing. But when it was Wink, it seemed like, well, that makes perfect sense. Now you got a guy like Shane Bowen to come in, and so what I will say is this: I'm not going to kill Bowen like everyone does. Don't get me wrong; like I'm not here to defend the guy, but what I will say is this: I do think the biggest problem this year is that the defense has good players, They're just being utilized incorrectly.
Yeah, but
And here's
Alex,
the
just
idea
real
that I
quick,
have
real
that
fast.
that I want to run by you.
Yeah, real quick. 1 second. Just so you know, though, Bowen runs man defense at the second highest rate in the National Football League.
We play a ton of man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fair. Whatever it is, it just seems like when I watch the All-22 after the games, like, it doesn't feel, maybe we're playing man, but it doesn't feel like we're playing, like, aggressive, uptight. Like, there's a lot of cushion, it feels like. And they don't let them. At least that's what I feel like.
No, Alex, you know what? There isn't as much press man as there was with Winkier. That's true. I agree with that. That's fair.
And especially towards the end of the game when we have those leads, it feels like we really get conservative and back off, and we let people kind of just drive down with the hopes that we're going to stop them in the red zone. And then, of course, we haven't been very successful at that. Here's what I'd like to see moving. I mean, probably not this year, but moving forward. And I called for this last year on our 100-year anniversary. I would love more than anything to see us get back more into a 3-4 base defense with a lot more blitz pressuring, because I think that in the modern NFL, if you give any quarterback more than 3 seconds and any receiver more than 3 seconds, they're going to get open and they're going to make that play. So, like, you have to, and yeah, would we love the Eagles thing of 4 guys are able to bring pressure every time? Sure. Do we have the guys that we think could do that? And yeah, but if it's not happening, I think you've got to be bringing in other people. And I also think that Burns, Thibodeau, and probably Carter are going to be better on the edge and attacking from a standing position. So I would love to see us, and I also think even for like the run fits, I think we might have more success with the way that this defense is currently built by going into more of a 3-4, and I'd really love to see more disguises and just a lot more heavy blitz packages and some more press man coverage. And I think that even with the guys we have now, you might see a more immediate success. It's just a theory, but that's personally what I would love to see, and I'm curious to get both of your takes on that idea.
No, thank you, Alex. Great call. Very informed. Appreciate it. Let me counter with 2 things quick, Sean, and then you can take it. I sorted at the end of that game last week. The Giants played man on the last 2 drives, I think, 3 times. On 2 of them, the Bears do incomplete passes. But on those 2 incomplete passes,
penalty.
No, the Bears receivers had run past Giants defensive backs, and Caleb Williams just overthrew them.
And there's a lot of drops, too.
Yeah, it was 2 of the plays that they had the drops on, where you would have had 30 or 35-yard chunk plays if the Bears would have done what they were supposed to do. So that's why you don't play man in a lot of those spots, because you don't want to give up the plays over the top, especially when you have a banged-up secondary. So that's one. I have trouble blaming Deontay Banks' issues on anyone but Deontay Banks at this point. He's had different defensive backs coaches and all that stuff. It is what it is. And I loved him in the draft, so I'll take the L on that happily. The other thing you talked about was playing 3-4 more. The Giants' base defense is 3-4.
Yeah.
And they have not stopped the run well when they've been in 3-4 either, with the 2 stand-up guys on the edge.
Yeah.
And those are my 2 takes.
I thought the same thing. When he started talking about 3-4, I'm like, it's Thibodeau and Burns standing up on both sides. Like, they're the same on the will.
With the 3, when they've had Nacho, Dexter, and Ward Robinson Harris.
You know, honestly, like, defenses have changed now. There used to be, like, you were a 4-3 defense or you were a 3-4. Now everybody's like a hybrid.
Well,
so you play 3-4 on first or second down, and then you go to a 4-3 on third down.
Everyone's nickel is a 4-man front.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I think the 3-4 thing, they're already doing that. The tough thing with the blitz-heavy packages is now you're giving up the big play. Like, as an offensive player, I loved it when they brought a blitz because we knew what it was coming. If we picked it up, we were going. It was a home run ball. Like, we were going deep. So you got to be careful with the blitz-heavy packages, because now you are putting your corners on an island. Now you are making them susceptible. And if you're bringing a blitz, a full-on blitz, you're bringing one of your safeties down in the box to cover up for those linebackers that are blitzing. So now you have single high safety and man outside. Wink Martindale was big on that. He was big on the blitz packages and the blitz zero stuff, but it put a lot of stress on the corners. I think that you've got to pick and choose your times when to blitz,
especially
and how to blitz,
especially what quarterback you're blitzing too.
Yeah, that also changes week to week. I think, you know, not having Paulson Adebo has been a big blow to this defense. When him and Javon Holland were out, you know, Adebo is our press corner. Like, he's our best press corner. That's what he does. That's his style. And not having him in the lineup has definitely changed the way we do things defensively. The Tay Banks conversation, you know, I think everybody's disappointed with his progression in this year. Like, his rookie year, he played a ton of press. Everybody's like, man, this kid's physical. He was a physical corner. He came up and stuck people. You know what the issue I have with Tay Banks this year is? He can't tackle anybody. And I don't know if it's a want-to thing. You know, Brian Robinson ran through him in that 49ers game on that big, long touchdown run.
Didn't even try to wrap him up.
He wanted no part of that. I've seen him not stick his head in there. He kind of comes in there with alligator arms And, that to me is just as alarming as, look, you play man coverage, you're going to get beat in the NFL because you can't make contact. You can't, like this, the NFL is designed for receivers to be able to score touchdowns on man coverage. And, that's a tough position to play week in and week out, given some of these receivers, given some of the rules. So I don't fault Deonte Banks for all of that. But I do think there's been, aside from the tackling itself, he has gotten out of position in the run game as well. There's been multiple times where he's the forced defender and he's supposed to attack the outside and not let anything get outside of him and force it back to your help, and he has not done that, and they've resulted in big plays. So there are some other things that I think that Deonte Banks can get better at, but to your point, that's not a coaching issue. That's a player execution issue, and he's got to get better at that. But the scheme standpoint of it, look, I think that's, the Giants, they do run a hybrid 3-4. I think that they could get a little more exotic on third down. Like, I would like to see Abdul Carter moving around more. Like, I would like to see Brian Burns moving around a little bit more, not Brian Burns dropping in coverage like we saw against Chicago a couple times. Like, Brian Burns should never be dropping in coverage.
Well, I think
he should be rushing every single play.
That is them trying to be exotic, though, right? Trying to run a zone blitz where they think Burns is coming, he fakes and he drops out.
Don't drop Burns. You can fake him on one side and have him slant, have him stunt. But in no world should Brian Burns be running backwards on third down.
And I will say this too: a lot of fans have asked for more blitzes as well. And my answer to that is this: if you're going to spend a bunch of resources on really good pass rushers, I should not have to blitz to help them get home. You have Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, who has done his job, by the way. This is not on Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. All right. Do you know how many sacks combined Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau have?
I think Dexter's got one. Abdul's got a half, 1.5.
Half, I believe.
Thibodeau's got what, 4?
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, not a lot of production coming from that group.
You got to get home with 4. That's what you want. You want to be able to rush with 4. And look, the Giants' weakness is their back end, right? You want to help those guys.
Yeah.
You got to have more guys in coverage, and those guys up front have to win more. They just have to win more. Now, I think the secondary, Sean, can do a better job, and I think this is where I think it was Alex had a point. Maybe press up a little bit more so you make the quarterback hold it so there's not an easy route or delivery so you get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to do more of that, I'm fine with that. I have no beef. But in the end, your best players are the guys you have up front. They have to do a better job, especially Sean. They've had 2-score leads in the fourth quarter. That's when your pass rush is supposed to eat. You don't have to worry about the run. Yeah. All you're worrying about is the pass.
Yeah.
And they have not been able to come. I don't mean to get upset, but it's frustrating because we all thought how they were going to be so good this year, and they've had opportunities to close games out, and they have not been able to do it.
You know what's frustrating is watching them beat the offensive lineman, and then they get to the quarterback and they don't bring him down.
That happened against Caleb Williams. I counted, I think, 9 or 10 times in that game.
I wonder if Next Gen Stats keeps track of missed sacks because we're top 5 in that as well. And Burns had one too. Burns had him right in his grasp, and he should have had another sack. That I feel like has happened weekly. That we had a chance for a sack and we let him get away. It's frustrating. It's tough. And look, they have talented guys. No question about it. They just got to get it done.
Have to get it done. All right, back to the phones, 201-939-4513. Hi, Wilson. How are you, buddy?
Johnny, how are you?
What's
Sean,
going on?
How are you? Hey, Sean, you are a great Giant. You are a great Giant. With all due respect, this guy to leave the building with his head high, I mean, he destroyed this franchise. He destroyed the fandom of 90% of Giants fans. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But
I'll disagree with you on that.
Wilson, there are players on the field and a lot of other people contributing.
We're going to agree to disagree.
That's fine.
Johnny,
what's your main point?
Johnny, listen. I told you this was going to happen last year, and it happened.
No,
Am I happy? No, I'm not. I'm not happy. And I said this to you a million times. It was never personal.
No, I know that, Wilson. Daboll, I know that.
Do you remember? I said he could be a great guy. I'm sure he's a great father, a great friend, but it was in the context of football.
No, look, Wilson, in the end, you have to win games, and they have not won enough games.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But listen, Johnny, there's one thing. I'm going to put Mr. Mara on the side because he's a man of high integrity. You know that. I said that a million times. And he's dealing with a lot more important things than football. Football is something that I get upset on Sundays, and I call you today because I'm upset. But it's not real life. Life goes on. But I like to win on Sundays. There's one thing
We all
that I
do,
want you to explain something to me. Somebody in the front office have to have half a brain. How in the world are they even contemplating the fact of bringing Joe Shane back? Not only bringing him back when he's playing the last year of his contract, actually saying that he's going to help get the new head coach. Are they out of their mind? Do they like problems? Do they like compounding problems? Do they like to say, let's just do everything backwards? I mean, are they crazy, Johnny? There's only two names that I want to hear as a Giants coaching, and maybe a third as a backup. You call Nick Saban, and you tell Nick, come over here. What do you want? You like the quarterback? No, I don't like him. He gets hurt all the time. Gone. You like Dexter? Oh, no, he's over it. Gone. You like this guy? Stays. You like this guy? Go. That's it, Johnny. It's over. No more.
All right, so that's number one. Who's your second guy? Who's your second guy, Wilson?
You got to go Bill. You got to go Bill.
Parcells?
Because no
Nice.
one is
I know
going to
you
be
mean Parcells.
crazy enough. You think if Bill loses 10 games in a row,
Arnsparger?
I'm going to call and say you got to fire him? No. Johnny, we cannot. And then my third stop. My dog is getting upset. I mean, you see?
Yes.
Yeah, because he thinks you're crazy. He's barking at you like, what are you talking about?
No,
Bill Belichick's not walking through that door.
And the last one,
he's
Johnny,
not.
if Bill says no and Nick says no, it's Mike McCarthy. That's it. No more offensive coordinators. No more defensive coordinators. No more first. Johnny, we can't do this anymore.
No, Wilson, I
got
got you.
It's got to be somebody with teeth.
Appreciate the call, man.
With lots.
So Wilson wants somebody, and look, this is putting the names aside, you can comment on them if you want. And I don't know what Nick Saban wants to do. The Belichick thing, I'm with you.
Nick Saban's done.
I agree with
He's
you
done
on both
coaching
those
that.
things. There is a group of fans, and I understand the argument for it. I'm not disagreeing with them, that say, look, we want a guy to come in here that has already proven that he can win at a high level and consistently in the National Football League. Because you know what you're getting. And I understand the argument. It's just hard to find that guy because most of those guys currently have jobs.
Yeah.
What do you think of McCarthy? That was the third guy that he mentioned.
Look, I think Belichick and Saban, that's not happening. But this is one of the most important hires in a long time for the Giants. They are going to make sure they get this right. And I think Joe Shane is a big part of that. But the reason why you don't fire Joe Shane is because now you have to go out and get another general manager. So you can't hire a coach until you hire another general manager. Well, there's restrictions on all this stuff. So, now because the Giants are in the head coaching market, they can get a head start on some other teams that maybe wait till January to fire their coach or to make a decision.
Now, you can't talk and interview people yet, but you can certainly at least get your list together.
You could start figuring it out.
Yes.
You could talk to people that aren't coaching in the NFL right
That's
now.
right. You can, for sure.
So you can get a head start on that aspect of it. So that is why you would keep that. Number two, look, Joe Shane, you can go through, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. You can go through all of the players that are on this team right now that Joe Shane had brought to the team, and which is why, we were talking before about this is a talented team. The injuries have really detracted from a lot of that talent, but I think from a coaching standpoint, it's not just the one guy that's coming in. Who's your staff? Who are you bringing with you? So you want Nick Saban to come here and be the head coach? Who's he bringing with him, right? One of the biggest parts of the head coaching interview is not just you coming in there and selling yourself and saying, look, I'm the right guy for this job. It's who's your offensive coordinator? Who's your defensive coordinator? Who is the staff? Who are you bringing with you?
And Sean, especially
that is just as important as the head coach.
Sorry for jumping on you. If you're not hiring a play calling head coach, the first question you have to ask in the interview: what's your plan for the offense? What's your plan for your offensive coordinator? What's your plan for Jackson Dart? Because that is the single most important thing now moving forward for whomever the next head coach is.
Yeah. And, the one thing that I'll just kind of remind everybody. So one of the most, beloved coaches in Giants history here, right? Tom Coughlin. What did Tom Coughlin do before he came to the Giants? Right? He was down in Jacksonville. They went to an AFC championship game. They had a really good year. I think they won 14 games one year. But he didn't have this unbelievable track record in the NFL. I mean, he coached in college football a long time. People wanted to run Tom Coughlin out of this building in his fourth year. We start out 0-2, and the New York Post is saying, fire Tom, Eli's a bust.
Well, dude, how about after the Vikings game? That was worse than after the 0-2 start.
That was a debacle. But at least we had a winning record there. But going into week 3, everybody was done with Coach Coughlin. And then they stayed the course, things got better. Obviously, we won the Super Bowl that year, and then things kind of morphed into all that. But one of the big reasons why Tom had so much success is we ran the same offense basically his entire coaching career. McAdoo came in at the end of the year.
But it was his offense.
Yeah, I mean, it was Huffnagel that first year, and Gilbride was the quarterback coach, and then Gilbride took over. And it was Gilbride all the way up until McAdoo. So that consistency is what bred the championships, and that consistency is what bred the confidence. So you've got, when you're bringing in a head coach, I don't think anybody could sit here and say, we need a head coach that is not a play caller, not this, or we need a head coach that's an offensive-minded or a defensive-minded. No, you need a head coach that could come in here and that can bring a great staff with him that's going to grow these players as men and as players, and he's going to function on game day like he should. I agree with you. I think everybody's bristling at a first-time head coach. I think you want a blue-chip stock here right now. You know, if you got $1 million and you're going to try to invest in something, you want a blue-chip stock. You're not going to go out there on some private equity, hedge fund, like, hey, let's take a shot on this guy. Like, they don't have that ability to do that, given what's transpired here over the last 3 coaching hires.
Invest in Pepsi. Don't invest in the new prebiotic soda.
Give me Google, give me Apple. Yes. Give me Fang.
Fang.
Yeah, Facebook, Apple,
okay.
Netflix, Google. Give me all those blue chip stockers.
Absolutely right. But again, find that guy's hard. And he mentioned one name that is available. Mike McCarthy has a Super Bowl. He won 12 games in 3 consecutive years for the Dallas Cowboys in his stint there. He had a very successful career, has had trouble in the postseason. Even when he had Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, there are things you could talk about that can criticize, but he knows how to train quarterbacks. Dak Prescott has been effusive, even after he's out of the building, in his praise for Mike McCarthy.
I like that Mike won in 2 different spots. He won in Green Bay, and everybody was like, was he just winning because of Aaron Rodgers? And then he goes to Dallas and wins with Dak. But even he has, some blemishes.
I don't think there is now.
There is no perfect candidate out
there.
Like everybody wants to bring in this guy.
There is no
Lombardi.
slam dunk. There is no slam dunk.
Yeah, there's not. But like I said, they're going to interview all these guys. They're going to interview some young guys. I'm sure Lane Kiffin's name is going to get thrown out there too because of his relationship with Jackson Dart.
Yep.
You cannot hire a coach because of a player. Like that's when you're going down a slippery slope. So I think that everybody's just, take some pause with that. This is going to be a thorough process. And like I said, it's not just going to be about who's the head coach in name. Who are you bringing with you? Who's the staff going to be? That's going to be a big part of that.
The way I kind of compared this, Sean, I went back to when the Knicks moved on from Phil Jackson. Not to compare Phil Jackson to Brian Daboll, but they were in a situation where they were rudderless. I mean, the Knicks were they were a laughing stock. They were a joke. They hired Tom Thibodeau as their head coach. And look, Tom Thibodeau never won the big one either. He had gone to the Eastern Conference Finals, never got to the NBA Finals. People worried about some of his methods, whether or not he could take a team all the way. Well, at that point, the Knicks were not concerned with winning an NBA championship. They were just being concerned about not trick-or-treating and worrying about the NFL draft.
Is anybody coming to our games?
Yes, correct.
The last game 70.
Can we just not be bad, right? So I think maybe that's, again, if you find the perfect coordinator, you think he's a great hire, go for it. I'm all in favor of that. Find the next Sean McVay. Find the next Kyle Shanahan. That's great. I'm all in favor of that too. But you got to find someone that at least is going to put a good, strong program together that knows how to win football games. And you know what? If you get through 4 years with that guy or 5 years with that guy and you're like, all right, we need somebody else to take us over the top, that's okay.
Yeah.
But at least you get a guy that can make you relevant again.
I think it's challenging. Look at the NFL this past year, right? Let's take a look at some of the first-year head coaches. When the the Las Vegas Raiders hired Pete Carroll, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Pete's going to bring them back to respectability."
Yeah, I thought so too.
Like, this is phenomenal. He's bringing Geno with them. Like, this is going to be amazing. Like, it's been awful. Like, they look terrible. And Pete Carroll is one of the most decorated coaches in college and NFL history. So that's not going well there. Then you look at what Dan Campbell did in Detroit. And then now all of a sudden, hey, man, Detroit's got something going. Hey, let's pilfer a coach from there.
His first 2 years were a disaster, though.
Yeah, they weren't great. But now people hey, Ben Johnson goes to Chicago. Didn't start out great the first couple of weeks. Now all of a sudden they're on a roll. Yeah. But Aaron Glenn, the Jets pilfered him. How's that going right now? So you got to be careful with going with the hot hand. Like you said, like, hey, who's doing great right now? And, who's a coordinator that's on a hot team right now that we should be talking about? I've always I've always bristled at that because you're not taking those players either. You know, like you always kind of have to. You gotta have to throw a little caution in the wind with that aspect of it.
I don't know what I'm going with you next. Let me ask you the question: what are the most important characteristics, in your opinion, of a really good head coach?
Characteristics. Well, I think
whether it's X's and O's, personality, whatever.
I think as a head coach, like accountability is number one. You cannot treat certain players different.
I think that's a really
everybody's
got to
be everybody's on the same page. Like Tom Coughlin was big on that. Like I can't have separate rules for separate players. This is the way it is, and everybody's held accountable to the same standard.
By the way, some of the players here did not like when he first showed up.
No,
for the record, there including somebody that's on the radio with me in the offseason.
There was a lot of
during
pushback.
The season.
Oh yeah. I mean, Giants fans still boutiquey because of some of those things and some of those. And
Strahan, by the way, didn't love it either.
Strahan hated him his first couple of years. You know, Strahan's gone on record said my first couple of years he said I don't ever want to play for this guy again. And then he said, and then things changed, and I said I don't want to play for anybody but him. So, that was a complete 180. But I think there's got to be that accountability factor. You know, and it's a must, 100%. I think you've got to be a great communicator. That's something that is paramount in that position. You don't get to that position without being a good communicator. But I think you've got to be a great communicator.
I'm going to write these down, Sean.
I think when I look for, like, if I'm going in to interview for the head coach of the New York Giants, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, look, we're going to run the damn football. Like Giants championships, those trophies have been hoisted because they could run the football and they played great defense. You look at every successful team that has hoisted that Lombardi trophy. Those were two characteristics you had. So that head coach, you better come in. You better be able to run the damn ball in November and December.
Win in the trenches.
You better be able to run the football.
So win in the trenches. Okay.
100%. It's trench warfare is what the NFL is all about. So that it has to be. It's got to be a must. We cannot be a chuck and duck offense. We can't. That's not going to work in the NFC East. It's not going to work here in November and December when you've got to, that's when you got to be playing your best.
All right, so I got accountability, communication, win in the trenches. What else do you got for me?
Yeah, you got. You've got to build a physical team. I don't want an analytics guy. Like I know everybody's all about hey, all this analytics stuff, and we're going all this stuff. Like use it as resource, but like don't be a coach that just goes by all that other stuff.
You like the Dan Campbell approach.
I think Dan Campbell's done a great job for that. I mean, if you could clone Dan Campbell, I think that's probably who I just described right there.
Yeah, I think it pretty much is actually. I think that is exactly what you described.
Is Dan a free agent?
No, I don't think the Lions are going to be a fan of letting him out of that building either, to be quite honest with you. All right, let's get to our final calls here.
I think the last thing is
yes. Oh, you got one more, please.
You better have some thick skin, like.
So you got to be tough.
This New York media, like you cannot let that affect you. And we've seen it impact a lot of coaches, both for the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah.
That can ruin you in a hillbilly hiccup. Like
hillbilly hiccup.
You got to have some thick skin. You got to be tough.
How do you know if somebody has thick skin and they're tough?
Well, I think you got to put them through the grinder. You got to put them through the car wash yourself. But I think you go back and you look at their track record. There's enough video evidence out there with coaches to just see, hey, look, what do we got to find out? How does he handle this? Like, I don't want to know. Don't give me a press conference after you won a game. Give me a press conference after your team wet their pants. How did you handle that?
Hey, I always say this when fans are all excited and this first year, even the first year McAdoo, and I'm like, guys. Let's see how these guys handle things when things go bad. It's easy when everything's going well. But
that goes for players too.
Everybody. A team. It goes for a team. And Brian Daboll said this in the offseason. Guys, look, it's great everything's positive now. Let's see how this group reacts and what their character is when things start going really wrong. Which, by the way, I think they've actually handled that fairly well in the locker room. Yeah. But you're right. I agree. That is important. All right. 2 more calls, Sean. Let's get to them. Let's go to, I just like the name, and he's out of town. So let's go to Sneaky G-Man in Dallas. Sneaky, I'm sure you're really sneaky this week, given everything that's gone down there in Dallas.
Hey, first off, before I get started, I do want to give a shout-out to Mr. Mara. I want to let him know that I'm praying for his healing and his quick recovery.
Yeah, we all are.
Of this journey that he's going through.
Yeah,
okay, guys. Sean, this one's for you, man.
All right.
First,
shoot.
It's great to speak with you. And it's a perfect segue because you were talking about Gilbride a few minutes ago. and the cohesiveness of the offense coordinator with Eli. But let's not forget the offensive line. We had with you in it. We had a dominating offensive line. Both Super Bowls. I know you were part of one of them. And I want to say, since even McAdoo, we have not had a sustainable offensive line. What is and I hate to put you on the spot, but I want to see how thick your skin is. No, I'm kidding. What are we missing as far as offensive line goes since 2013?
Yeah, good question, Sneaky G. Appreciate the sentiments. Offensive line is all about consistency. And, when you look at, I think as much as I hate saying this, the Eagles have probably been the gold standard for the last couple of years on offensive line play. And they have consistently had the same guys in there. Even the Giants offensive line this year, they have gotten better because like John Runyon and Greg Van Roten have played every snap, at guard. We have not had the changing of the guards like we have had in previous years. JMS has been in and out of the lineup this year. Andrew Thomas when he came back. But that chemistry is built through all those reps. Yes, our offensive line back when I played, we were built, we had been together for years. So that consistency definitely breeds the excellence. One of the challenges that I think the Giants have had is, look, they've missed on some draft picks, but that constant, revolving door in the offensive line position is what has hampered some of that chemistry and that consistency. But I also think that the offensive line play has changed even in the last 10 years or so because you don't have as many reps. Training camp has been reduced. You're in full pads 8 times in an entire training camp. So it's a lot harder to get these young kids that come into the league at offensive line position. It's a lot harder to get them reps. I mean, I would have 1,000 reps in full pads before the season even started. Now they might not have 1,000 reps until halfway through the season in full pads. So it's really changed that learning curve when you bring young players into the league, and they're playing right away now. You're not redshirting rookies anymore like you used to. So you're coming in and you got to contribute and you got to perform. I think that has changed some of the offensive line play, along with the schemes now. It's definitely a different schemed offense now. So I think those are all different reasons and different factors. But it's hard. It's hard to be consistent when there's constant change. And I think that offensive line position is the one position that you cannot microwave. You can microwave, you're bringing in a couple of different receivers, running back, skill position guys, defensive guys. But when it comes to offensive linemen, it's got to be in the slow cooker. It's got to take time.
Now, thank you. Now, my last question. Now, I know we have rookies, we have some free agents, and we have, Schmidt being I think this is a third-year player. What is your opinion on, the perfect mix of an offensive line? How many rookies would you have? How many veterans? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of that
formula.
There's no perfect formula. Otherwise, everybody would just follow that.
Thank you, CQT, man. Appreciate the call.
I think the challenge is, you want veterans in there. I think having more than one rookie starting on your offensive line, you're going to have a lot of growing pains. There's going to be plays and brain farts and issues that creep up. So I think the more veteran-laden your group is, the better prepared they are. They understand how to take care of their bodies. They understand how to prepare, how to watch film, how to be ready mentally. But the salary cap is such a big part of that. So, you want all veterans, that's great. If they're all, 4 years and above, you're paying top dollar for those guys because they've hit the market. So you kind of have to, I think the best way to do it, you look at what the Eagles have done, they've done it through the draft. So if you hit on your draft picks on the offensive line, now you can spend money elsewhere for those first 4 years because they're all under the rookie contracts.
And they'll also draft the guys before they need them. They had Cam Jurgens on the team before Kelsey retired.
Yeah, and they drafted him and everybody's like, oh boy, how's Kelsey feel about it? And Kelsey was like, I actually told them that I think this is the guy you should draft as my replacement. He played two years longer, and Cam Jurgens played guard.
And it didn't work out for him, but they also did the same thing with Andre Dillard. They thought he was going to replace Jason Peters at left tackle. Now, he didn't work out. He's out of the league, but that they plan ahead of that. You can never stop drafting offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Keep adding.
I mean, Lane Johnson was a first-round pick. They ended up Mailata. Obviously, he was a little bit of a different case, but then they drafted Landon Dickerson in the first round, I believe.
He was the very top of the second, end of the first, one or the other.
Yeah, because he blew his knee out.
It was like the 30 to 35 range. Yeah.
Dallas is the same thing. I mean, Dallas is, they use first-round picks on offensive line, but they've hit on most of them. So I think that's always kind of the challenge. But you've got to have a mixture of that. You can't just go with all veterans all across the board, because at some point,
37th pick, so top of the
37th, got it. At some point the salary cap is going to come back to haunt you, but it's that's why it's not an exact science. It's you got to find the right guys too. There could be talented guys that are coming out, and you're like, is this guy going to fit in our offensive line room? Like, is he the kind of guy that's going to give the veterans crap if they're telling him as a rookie to go do stuff for him? Like, what kind of person is he? What kind of player is he? What kind of teammate is he? So those are all factors in it as well. The offensive line, we're dirtbags. We're kind of weird in our own little way. So you got to have the right guys. You got to have, every team needs to have a couple of dirtbags. You can't have too many, but you got to have just the right amount. Dirtbag is a team. That's a term of endearment, by the way.
Correct amount of dirtbags. That's what we're looking for here on the offensive line, folks. I'm going to put that into my draft evaluation. I'm going to say dirtbag.
Add that to your head coaching requirement.
Dirtbag.
Got to have a little bit of dirt.
Got to have some dirtbag.
Just a little Joe Dirt.
Hopefully they're bigger than Joe Dirt.
That's why they do Joe Dirt instead of Nutmaker.
I hope they're bigger than Joe Dirt. You don't want to like Joe Dirt-sized fellows on the offensive line. That would be a problem.
No.
All right, let's go to MJ in Brooklyn. We'll wrap things up. MJ, what's going on?
Hey, I hope you guys are both doing well. So I've been keeping track of today's presser news on Twitter, but there was very little mention about the defense, which I think would be our main concern, considering that's what lost us most games. So what do you guys think Kafka can do, like realistically and immediately, to see improvement with our defense? Like, is he known for having experience with defense, and do you guys think he would intervene if he didn't like what he was seeing on the field during critical moments? Do you guys think he would intervene? And lastly, do you think he'd be more aggressive with holding players accountable and cutting players if they weren't performing compared to Daboll?
Good, MJ. Excellent questions. I will just say, does Kafka have experience on defense? No, he played quarterback, so he knows what good and bad defenses look like from the quarterback perspective. So that's for sure true. I know Brian Daboll was working with Shane Bowen in terms of how to run those defenses. Remember, the head coach is listening to the play call on defense. So if he doesn't like something, he can change whatever he wants. And he was making sure Bowen was switching up the defenses, being more aggressive on some plays and less aggressive on others. So he was involved there. But what impact do you think Kafka can have on the defense and Bowen here, Shaun, especially in the second halves of these games?
Yeah, I think it's all TBD right now. But I think Kafka, look, he's focusing on the offense. I don't think him being the interim head coach now, he's over there in the defensive meeting rooms telling Shane Bowen how to do this or that. But
is that why you think maybe they didn't make a change there? They didn't want to put too much on his plate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already hard enough. I've never been a fan of firing a head coach during the season, because now somebody's got to pick up the slack. Somebody's got to do his job.
I agree with
that. Now I'm doing two jobs. I'm not getting his paycheck. You're not paying me anymore, but now I got to do my job and the head coaching job. So I'm never been a big fan of that for that reason. But
same here.
I think Kafka, for his first game coaching, I think I want to get through this thing and focus on making sure I'm doing the right thing as a head coach on a macro level. And then I don't know what his duties are going to be when the defense is on the field. Is he going to be meeting with the quarterbacks? Is he going to be meeting with Tim Kelly? Because he's still the OC calling the plays. So, how does that change? And if he's not over there standing there watching the defense, standing next to Shane Bowen or, listening to all that, he's not going to be making any decisions. But do I think that the defense is going to change with Mike Kafka, head coach? Absolutely not. I don't think there's any change that's going to happen. Does he at some point in the game, hey, look, we're up 4 points right here. I want you to bring the house. Like, does he say that? Does he make suggestions to Shane Bowen?
You might say, like, all right, I want you to be really aggressive on this possession, whatever.
Go for it. I want you to send the house. I feel like we got to put, we got to step on their throat right now. Bring the house. Blitz them every play. I don't know that Kafka feels confident that he can do that. And in his very first game as head coach, maybe game 2 or game 3, maybe he has a little bit more say in that. But, maybe he says, hey, look, don't pressure here. Like, I feel like offensively we're doing a great job. Like, don't give up the big play. Maybe he has a little bit of that. I don't think he's tweaking scheme or telling Shane Bowen, what to do on 3rd and 7.
Well, Shaun, I'll be honest with you. I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with the scheme.
No, I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. It's the execution is the issue, So maybe there's an accountability factor that he can bring to the offense and the defense. But look, this is like I said when we started this whole thing. Like when the head coach gets fired, everybody in that locker room feels it, and you know what? Like you feel like you let that guy down. So I expect both sides of the ball to come out, and look, you play like there's a fire under their butt because there is.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sean. Final thoughts here before we say goodbye?
Bring on the Packers. Let's go. G-Men.
I think it's a game they can win, by the way. I really do.
Look, their offense is struggling. You talked about it right at the start of this. Like they have not scored a lot of points. I mean, they missed a field goal. Their offense it looks like it's been in reverse. They've really struggled, and they've got some injuries now on the offensive line.
Panthers 2 weeks ago. That's a team that's not that dissimilar from the Giants.
I've always felt like in the NFL, it's not always who you play, but when you play.
100%.
This is when you want to play the Packers. Like they are reeling right now. So I think, look, come on out. It's 1:00. It's a Sunday. It's going to be a nice day. You're going to be.
It might rain a little bit, but that's okay.
Maybe a little.
Maybe bring a poncho.
Yeah. But we need the crowd to be a factor in this game.
Are you on postgame this week?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not.
So don't tune in on Sunday to see Sean on the postgame.
No, definitely tune in. Madeline, Toomer, I believe.
Well, I mean, you could do that. Maybe have the TV on, but then put the radio on too. You can listen to me and Tiki on the radio postgame.
Yes, and Schmeelk and Tiki.
You do a little bit of both. So make sure you check that out. Thank you, Sean. This was fun as always.
Thanks, Johnny.
Always a pleasure. Madeline will be with Jonathan Casillas tomorrow, and then we shouldn't have any more switches the rest of the year, but that's what we're looking at for this week. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. From the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio, keep getting better. For Shaun O'Hara, I'm John Schmeelk. We will see you on Sunday for Giants and Packers. Big Blue Kickoff Live is back tomorrow at 12:30. Stay tuned to Giants.com, the Giants mobile app, all our social media platforms, and the YouTube channel for all the coverage of the Giants the rest of the week. We'll see you then.